Well, hello there, and welcome to the 8th and final lesson of the Fall Acrylic Portrait Painting Challenge, Bringing Your Portrait to Completion. Bringing Your Portrait to Completion. Again, I'm so excited. We're here again, and I'm able to teach you, help you bring your portrait to the finish line. Thank you so much for your patience. It's been a long process here. Finishing this portrait, adding those final details, although we still have a few more to go. And that's what I want to teach you here today. So again, thank you so much for being a part of the challenge, sticking with me here in all of these lessons, taking the time to put the techniques that I'm teaching you into practice, applying it on your own canvas, learning the glazing technique. I know it has been very challenging, but it's also been very rewarding for many students as well. And I've been in touch with several people, watching their progress, helping them along. And so many of you are doing a great job just creating amazing portraits with rich skin tones, really good anatomy, and a good likeness. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you because it's not easy to do a portrait, especially if you've never done one before or you've had limited portrait painting experience. So again, I commend you. Thank you so much for taking the challenge. And I do want to let you know, if this is the first time you're watching this video here for the Portrait Painting Challenge, you've just been introduced to it, it's not too late to take the challenge. I recorded these lessons and meant them to be something that you could do on your own time, at your own convenience. That's why I'm not taking these lessons down. They're remaining here on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to take advantage of them whenever it works for you. So go ahead and sign up for the challenge. When you sign up for the challenge, I will send you the welcome kit. That includes the gridded reference photo that you can download and print off or upload to your Kindle or iPad, and that'll help you to be able to paint along with us. You'll also get the supplies list that has all of the materials, all the paints and brushes you need to do this portrait successfully. I will send that to you as well, and you can print it off and have that ready to go when you go shopping for your paints and brushes and canvas. And you'll also get the palette layout guide, so you know how to lay out your palette so the colors don't get muddy and you can mix them as effortlessly as possible. So again, I encourage you to take the challenge, sign up. It is free, and I would love to have you take part even here at this late stage in the painting process. And you can go back and see all the lessons. You'll get them all sent to you, so you can follow the lessons step by step, beginning with the first one to the last one here, which is number 8. All right, so thank you so much. Look forward to having you in the challenge. And I do want to open up here with a word of prayer, as I like to do, and then we'll dive right into the painting process. So Father, I ask a blessing here on this last lesson here for the challenge. Help me to teach it well. Lord, help me to make the concepts clear to the students. I pray that you would bless them, Lord. Help them to get over any hurdles, any challenges in their paintings. Lord, I pray you'd give them confidence from above. I pray you'd help them to know that they can do all things through Christ who strengthens them, especially if they know you as Lord and Savior. Lord, I pray that you would bless each and every one for them, provide for them, and help them as they finish this challenge here to dive into the thing that you have next for them, whether it be painting portraits for loved ones or painting commission portraits or just having an enjoyable pastime. Lord, I pray that you would bless them and guide them as far as their next steps. So bless this lesson, Lord. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, well, I'm going to dive right in here. And the goal of this lesson here, since we're bringing the painting home, so to speak, is just to go over and find some little nuances that need to be finished up and refined. So I'm going to be hopping and skipping all over the painting and just finding any areas that could help bring it to a higher level. Let's start here with my little flat edge brush. So this will be about 1/2 inch or a little smaller, and we'll start with that. And what I want to do is just add a little bit of a cool tone to the edge of her chest here. I'm going to start with ultramarine blue because I know that's a cool color. I'm also going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson as well, and then just a bit of raw umber dark. I'll just show you this here, what I'm mixing. And we're going to just get kind of a nice warm mauve color. I'm going to show you on the white card what we've got. So this is what that looks like. And let's add that just to the skin tone area. Now I'm going to wipe that off. I'm going to add just a bit of titanium white just to cool it down. A little bit of titanium white. And we're going to add that just to the edge of her chest area here. And it's going to darken that a bit and cool it down at the same time. And I might come in and add just a little bit more of a glaze later. I'm just going to wipe this away. I want to just darken the edge a bit more. So I'm going to use some vertical strokes, follow the contours of the clothing as best as I can, and just blend out. Yeah, I'll have to go over it with just another glaze on the interior there, but that's should be enough to cool this down. I'll add a little bit of burnt sienna here to this glaze, and that'll warm it up chromatically. Add a little more of an intense color, and I'm just going to add that just to the left of this area under the feather where it gets a little bit warmer. And I think that will help. Up just a bit of raw umber dark so that the value's a little darker. And I just want to place that right underneath these feathers here. Now that cooler tone is because we're getting some reflected light from the sky. So that's the reason for that. Okay, let's rectify this area here. It's just a little rough on her shoulder. Take some titanium white, mix it into the burnt sienna, and add some raw sienna as well. A little bit more raw sienna, an Indian yellow, and a bit of pyro red orange. And we just want to warm that up a bit. And let's just add this right on top of that little dark splotch. I want to lighten it up. So we do need to use a pretty chromatically intense color when you're going over a darker value. And I'll show you how intense that color is right here. That's not going to always be the case, but if you're going over a darker value and you have titanium white mixed in, you have to use a more chromatically intense color to cancel out the chalkiness. Now, a little more titanium white to the mix and raw sienna, and I just want to blend this into the rest of the skin tone here on her chest. I'm going to add just a bit of raw umber dark just to cool it down. So here's my mixture, just a bit cooler, and I'm going to apply that just on the edge of her chest here as it goes to the shoulder area. So there's not going to be any particular steps here today like I usually have. Again, I'm just going to be hopping all over the place, trying to refine certain spots. I want to add a little highlight to her jawline. Add a little highlight to her jawline right here, and that's reflected light from her clothing. So let's take this color that we used for the right side of her chest, and let's add some titanium white to that. And a little bit of raw umber dark. So we have some ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, titanium white, raw umber dark, and then we're going to apply that right here just on the edge of her jawline, and let's see how that looks as we apply it. It should be just a little lighter. You don't want to make this line too bright. Now we keep in mind that the paint's going to dry a bit darker, but we don't want this to be too overt. So now that we put that line down, we have to mute it. We have to make it more subtle. So let's add some raw umber dark here to this same glaze, just to the top of it, plus a little bit of alizarin crimson. Now I have something to blend out of. And then let's just soften up the edge of this glaze here. Just soften up the edge. So I'm just going on the top of it and muting it down a bit. I'm going to extend it a little bit to the right. Mute it on the top. And we can even add just a little bit of that here to the underside of her chin, although that light is not quite as bright. I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson to this glaze. And I want to just put a little bit of that on the underside of her chin. Again, just to get that little bit of reflected light there. All right, that's good. And I want to just darken around this highlight so this highlight stands out. So I'm going to use a small round brush. This is the 18-aught small brush. And you can see how little that is. Get it to a nice point on your palette. And I'm just drawing from this mixture here that kind of warm yellowish, orangish color that I used previously. And what I want to do is just go over her nose a bit. So titanium white, a little bit of Indian yellow, burnt sienna, and we're going to go over the nose. We might have to add just a bit of raw umber dark to cool it down, because I see that the color should be a little cooler in tone. Raw umber dark. And this is the color we're shooting for here. I'll just show you here on the white card. So it's not as intense as this color here that I had previously. Now I want to place that on top of her nose, thin it out with matte medium so that it blends in with the rest. And it's going to get just a bit darker than on that top part of her nose, thereby making the highlight stand out a little more. I'm going to add it to the top of these white painted lines on her face, and then it should fade out as we get to her nose bridge, because that area should be just a bit lighter in tone. Now let's blend this into the rest of the face. I'm adding a bit of alizarin crimson here, and I'm going to add that just to the edge of the nose as it goes into the left plane of the nose, the shadowed area. Just soften that edge. That's good. So that helps that to project out a bit more. Okay. Let's see. While we're in this area, let's work on her lips just a bit. I'm going to soften up the edge, and I'm going to use this color here because this works. Raw umber dark, alizarin crimson, a bit of titanium white, and raw sienna. And we're going to just soften up a little of the shading that I had on her lip right there. Also, I want to add just a bit of a line running across vertically, or horizontally rather. because I see that crease there in the reference photo. Okay, it's going to take just a bit more work to get that in. And a little bit of a wrinkle going down. And we'll add just a bit of a wrinkle here as well on this side. And I'm going to pull from the somewhat darker mixture. And I'm going to add a little bit of a divot there on the side of the lip. A little bit of shading on this side as well. Now I'm going to continue the shading on her chin. Add a little bit of raw sienna and raw umber dark. I just want to just continue that shading there on her chin. Smooth that out a bit. And now we'll move into a little bit of a lighter color, blend that together. Okay, I'm going to just get a nice gradient here, blend these darker and lighter colors together. Just using the tip of my brush. And I need to add just a little bit of raw umber dark to finish that shadow on the chin. Using strokes that kind of follow the contours of her chin. Add a little bit of raw sienna here and burnt sienna, and I'm going to adjust the shadow on her neck below her chin. Bring that down a bit. All right, that's good. Now let's add a little more of a shadow to this left side of her eye above that upper eyelid fold. So let's take some more burnt sienna, raw umber dark, mix that together with a bit of titanium white to cool it down, some matte medium, and let's spray the palette, get it nice and fluid. Really helps to get these smooth applications of paint. Okay, and we're going to add this glaze just in this area right here. I use a small round brush because it really helps me to get precise placement of these glazes. Now I'm going to pull from a little bit of a lighter mixture because it does get a bit lighter as we get toward the edge into that crease, and then it fades out. So I'm just fading it out right there. It could get even a bit darker. Add just a bit of ultramarine blue to this glaze to cool it down in temperature. I want to get just that slightly darker tone in there. And I think that extends pretty much all the way down. Okay, now we're going to soften this up lighten it up a little bit on the edge. And we need to move into a little more raw sienna to warm that up. So as we get to the lighter side, we're going to introduce a bit more raw sienna. And I'll thin this out with the matte medium so that blends into the existing light that we have. And that is that's much closer now. Okay, I'm going to use a similar color to add a bit more burnt sienna to the mix. And just extend the shadow from her eyebrow down a bit. And then just a lighter color on the bottom and thin that out. Now pull from a darker color on the interior and blend those together. Wipe off some of the excess paint on my brush so I can get it to blend. And there we go. I'll just need to blend this out a bit more on the bottom. Just pull from this lighter mixture here, get a good blend. All right, and just soften this edge up a bit. All right, my daughter was looking at this portrait yesterday and she said, "Dad, are you going to put the mole in there, the little dot?" I guess there is a little dot right there. And I suppose I could put it in. So it's just right here. It's a nice little skin texture area. I just want to make sure I'm choosing a color that's not too dark. It's easy to overdo these little skin blemishes. So just a little darker than what we have. And that should be good. I'll come in later and I'll add maybe one more. She thought it was a freckle. I don't know, maybe it is, I don't know. Let's move down to the hair area. Let's put in some highlights there. Let's take some titanium white and just a bit of Indian yellow and raw sienna. Make that nice and fluid, and let's just add a couple little highlights here on her hair, as we should have on these braids. And we'll need to soften them up a bit, so I'm going to mix it with raw umber dark and just soften that area up. And then we'll take some raw umber dark, ultramarine blue, and a bit of alizarin crimson, and we'll just refine the shape a bit more. So we're going to blend the dark values into the light values. And there's even just a bit of a highlight on the bottom of her hair. I guess it's just a little bit backlit there, so a bit of a highlight there. We're going to add that. Now again, as you're watching this, you might have already noticed that the painting is much farther along here in lesson number 8 as it was in lesson number 7. And that's because I did have some bonus video footage between the two lessons just to bring it to a higher level of completion. And that is all located in my All Access membership. It just was more footage than I could put up here on YouTube. And I needed to get the portrait to a level where it could really you know, be completed here in this lesson. And it'd be great if I had more time with you on these lessons, but at this stage, 8 hours, an hour per lesson is about the most I can do. And I really appreciate you hanging with me here between all these lessons and working it out on your own portrait. So I'm trying to show you the highlights and the parts of the process that really make the most difference here. And again, get you to a stage where you can finish your portrait successfully as well. Just going to add a few little details to the hair. And the other thing too is, I want to reward my All Access members with some additional video footage, because they really take the time and they invest in the school, and that's actually how I support my wife and my children. It's how I support my family, is mostly through teaching and through painting my own portraits. And so the All Access members, in a way, are funding what I do here on YouTube, and try to make these lessons available for free to as many people as I can, and share as much as I can. So I hope you're getting benefit from them. And if you are liking what you're seeing here as I'm painting, I sure would appreciate a thumbs up on this video. And that does help it to get seen by more people. And that also lets me know that you're watching it and you're liking what I'm doing, and so that I can do more of the same. So I'm just refining these shapes here a bit more. And we'll go ahead and keep adding some more detail to the hair. And I'd like to go back and just darken the side of her chest a bit more now that that first layer is dry. And let's pull from this, again, this mixture that I had from before. Alizarin crimson, raw umber dark, a little bit of burnt sienna, titanium white. And let's go ahead and just darken this side a bit more here. So I'm just going to apply just to the edge, and I'm not going to bring it all the way in. I'll blend it out. Now as I get this far, let's just dip my brush into some matte medium, and we'll just thin that glaze on the edge and fan it out so it blends into the rest of the area. There's one little divot I got to fill in with the corner of my brush. There we go, and that adds a little more shading to it. All right, and there's a little nuance here that I'd like to refine. A really interesting color that's quite cool, so we're going to take some raw umber dark, titanium white, and we're just going to mix that together. And I'm going to add that glaze right up here on this highlighted area of her chest as it goes in between her shoulder bone and the part of her chest that's in perspective. And it's just kind of a almost grayish color, kind of a grayish brown. We'll just blend that into the rest of the color here. And then I want to add just a bit more nuance to the edge. Let's switch to my small round brush and add some titanium white to the mix and just a touch of Indian yellow. And we're going to just thin it out with a bit of matte medium. But I just want to blend out of this edge a bit more. Now I'm going to pull into the warmer mixture I have here that's got a little more color. It's got a little more burnt sienna in it. And we'll blend into that. Okay, now we're going to blend into the cooler color again and a little lighter. So I'm just pulling from the lighter mixture. And let's add some titanium white again to this and a touch of Indian yellow. We'll just blend into the top here and get a nice gradient. Lord willing, we'll get a nice gradient. Let's go over this line right here and just soften that up. That's basically a pencil line. Now I'll wipe off my brush, come in with some titanium white, and just make that line a little bit skinnier. There we go. Now let's work on the hem of her dress just a bit. We'll add a little titanium white here to the edge. Just get some nice detail work. And let's see what else. Oh yeah, right up here in this corner, I need to add just the edge of her dress as it comes up above that feather. And then on the corner by her armpit, there's a little bit of a highlight here I want to capture. Just as this area flows into the rest. And there's just a little bit of a divot right here I'd like to capture as well. And we'll add a little more of a highlight to her shoulder up there. Let that color kind of flow in a bit. All right. And now I'm going to mix a grayish color just with these two colors that I have in my palette here from before, and then some titanium white. So it's got ultramarine blue, raw umber dark, alizarin crimson, bit of raw sienna, and titanium white. And I just want to refine the edge of her body here, so we'll just cut on top with this darker color that matches the background as close as we can, and just refine that edge. We'll add just a couple little highlights in here using this grayish color. So it should be kind of a light gray that you mix with some matte medium. We're going to add a couple little shapes there that show the wrinkles of her clothing against strong highlights. There's a little skinny shape that flows up. I want to capture that. It would be right about here. Kind of jogs a little bit and skips a few areas. And then we've got a little wrinkle right there as well. Okay, and let's see, just at the top of her shoulder, there's a little bit of a divot there. I want to get that in. There we go. And a couple little areas here on her collar. Opening of her dress. Add just a few little shadows here, hopefully in the right areas. This area here could get just a bit darker, and in fact, might want to add a glaze just to the interior here of ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue, titanium white. Show you that mixture here. And a bit of alizarin crimson. And just a bit of raw umber dark to tone it down. That'll help it from being too bluish or purplish. And add just a bit of titanium white to that as well. Let's go in and just darken this area a bit. I need to thin that out a bit more. I'm going to add a little bit of a glaze to the edge of the sleeve here. A bit darker in here as well. Get that blended in a bit more. At the bottom it seems to get a little lighter. Let's add a few highlights to her hair. I'm going to use this color that I was using for her sleeve right here. Add a little titanium white to it. We want to have kind of a warmer color. If you can see that, it's got a little bit of a slightly pinkish tone. Show you that on the white card. This is what that would look like right there. And just want to add some highlights to her hair in a few spots. And that's actually not bright enough. Let's add some more titanium white. And maybe just a bit of burnt sienna to warm it up chromatically. And let's see how that looks. Yeah, we'll add just a bit more titanium white. So now we're looking at a color that's just an off-white. We're adding a few little highlights to the top of her hair here. Okay, we'll just go along, add a few little dabs. You just want to dab your brush on there. Just dab your brush on. And you're going to be hitting mostly the spots where you have contrast between these dark shadows and these highlighted shapes. You really want to illuminate the edges, but also pick out a few little spots in between. And you, again, just want to use short little strokes that are kind of almost dabbing the paint on. Most of these strokes should go in a horizontal way. You can kind of follow the contours of the hair and have a few little curvatures in them. But yeah, for the most part, they should just follow the braids in the same direction as the braids. But because the light is coming from above, they're going to follow more of a horizontal look, because that's how the light would illuminate those strands of hair. So I'm just going to add a few little highlights on the edges. Make it look like her hair is glistening in the light. A couple highlights on the top here as well. It's good. Just get a couple highlights on the edge. I'll pull from a slightly darker and warmer mixture here. All right. I'm going to add a little bit more highlights on the left side. A little more titanium white as well. Yeah, but right here it could get a bit brighter. Okay, a few highlights on the top again. Toward the bottom, we'll add a few highlights here. Just on the edge of her hair. I just want to refine the braids on the right-hand side right here. So let's mix some Indian yellow, raw sienna, a little bit of phthalo green, phthalo blue. And I'm just going to mix a color that matches the background more or less. Kind of a greenish yellowish color, and I just want to paint that on top of these braids a bit, cut in, refine that edge a bit more. Now I'll come in with a darker color. Right here, this kind of dark grayish brown, raw umber dark, ultramarine blue, a little bit of burnt sienna, and titanium white. We're just going to blend those two together so we can get just the right look here. Okay, a little more umber dark, ultramarine blue. And I want to add a bit more of a shadow under this. I'll blend out this side a bit more. Okay, good. Now let's add a few little highlights to the interior of the hair on her face. That's this little lock that's just coming down here. All right, just a couple little highlights with this kind of brownish color, raw umber dark, titanium white, a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm just pulling from mixtures on my palette that I already have instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and redo the mixtures each time. Okay. Let's add just a little bit of a darker color right down here on her lower eyelid fold. So some burnt sienna and raw umber dark. And we'll thin that out with matte medium. Just let it blend into the rest of her eye area. I'm going to add a little bit of a textural area just to the left of this hair that's coming down this braid. And then just a bit of a glaze on her forehead. Using this color here, it's got alizarin crimson, raw umber dark in it, a touch of burnt sienna. And I'm going to thin it out a little more with matte medium so it's pretty translucent. This is what it looks like on the white card right here. And what I'm going to do is just add this to her forehead a little bit, darken that area. And it needs to be a little more translucent, so let's thin that out a bit. We'll just let it fade out. Bring it a little more to this side as well. And I'm going to apply it to the top as well, just a bit. And again, add some matte medium and thin that out. And darker shadow right underneath this one as well. And I'm just going to extend this shadow down a bit further. I want to get that nice blend where it gets just a bit lighter as it gets toward the bottom of the shadow. All right, I want to come in with some titanium white, just refine this upper edge of her clothing here. We'll add just a few little dots using kind of a neutral tone, kind of a warm gray. We'll add just a few little divots there. Oh, that's a little too warm. Let's go for a cooler gray on this side. And we'll just add a few little round dots there because it's almost like a doily pattern up on top, and I want to show that. Looks like there's a few areas where that pattern doesn't go all the way to the edge. Okay, let's take some raw sienna, a little burnt sienna, and just to bring this painting home, a little bit of titanium white, and let's go along the edge and just clean up the edge of the clothing here. So we're painting on the flesh tones up to the edge of the dress, and just getting more of a refined edge, also covering the pencil lines at the same time. Okay, we're just going to go right up to the edge here. Doesn't have to match the flesh tone perfectly. In fact, if it's just a bit darker, that's okay. It'll give it just a bit of a bump in contrast. And then on the other side, let's add the little shadow over there that's coming from her clothing. A little bit of a darker color here. And we'll also add just a slight cool tone in the middle, but then a bit darker as it's closer to her body because less light can get to it. So the shadow here, as it gets wider, means it's farther away from her body. Therefore, it should be just a little lighter in value. But these shadows that are right up next to the clothing and they're narrower should be a little darker. One last thing. I'm going to put some titanium white and Indian yellow highlights on these feathers. Just bring that out here on the edge. And I think that's gonna just push it over the edge to completion. Now we need just a bit of a highlight right up here. Hard to know when a painting is done, but sometimes when you get to the edge of a deadline, that tells you that it's finished. So I wanted to get this challenge done here by Thanksgiving. And I think that's gonna, let me know that the painting's finished. And maybe I'll add a couple little nuances later, but I think it's pretty close. And it's at a stage where I could sign off on it, call it done. If I had a client that was waiting for it, I could give it to them and just believe, that God blessed me enough to be able to paint it well, and they would be happy with it. All right, and we will finish off right here. Now let's sign the painting and we'll call it done. I'm going to use a neutral gray for this. I don't like my signature to stand out that much. I want it to be seen, but I don't want it to clash with the painting, so I'm just using a neutral gray that's a little bit darker than the background. All right, we're going to sign it right here on the right hand side. That's a good place. And it's good to put the year that you signed it. So let's do that as well. All right, and with that, we have a finished painting. So here we have the portrait in its completion. I really look forward to seeing your finished portrait as well. Why don't you go ahead and let me know how it finishes up, how you like this portrait painting challenge. You can leave a comment below in the video, and I would love to hear from you. I'd love to help you any way I can. And with that, I would like to invite you as well to join my All Access membership. I'm going to be opening that up here in just a couple of days, but in the All Access membership, we can go a lot further. I would love to teach you how to paint a portrait you can be proud of. And within this class, we covered a lot of different things, but obviously there was some missing footage I wasn't able to include here in the portrait challenge. But all of those bonus videos, several hours worth, is all in my All Access membership. And when you join the All Access membership, you'll get access not only to the bonus videos, but you'll get access to all of my other courses. I have 11 courses right now covering a wide variety of portrait painting topics: skin tones, shading, general portrait painting, painting a colonial portrait, painting beautiful hair in acrylic, all kinds of different topics. I'm adding more all the time. So you have access to the lessons on demand anytime you want to watch them, they're there. You also have access to group critiques, and that's one of the fantastic aspects of the school, is that once a week, me and about 20 other artists get together and we share our work. I post it up on Zoom. We have a live meeting and we take a look at our work and we discuss what we like, what's working on the portrait, and what could use improvement. And we do it in a way that's super encouraging, never beating anybody down, but giving you practical tips on how to take your portrait to the next level. So when you join the All Access membership, you'll also have access to the group critiques. Also, depending on what level of membership you join, you'll have access to the personal critiques. And that's where I do a one-on-one, very in-depth breakdown on your portrait. And again, show you areas that you can improve upon, and of course, encourage you as far as to what's working on your portrait. So I'd love to have you join the All Access membership. I'll be letting you know about that if you're signed up for the challenge within a couple days as I record this lesson. I would like you to consider it, pray about it, ask your significant other about it if it's meant for you. And if it's a good fit, I would love to have you be a part of it. But whatever you decide, I want to let you know, thank you so much. Thank you for taking part in this challenge. Thank you for investing in yourself as an artist. And it's my pleasure to have been able to teach you here during this time. I hope you found this challenge beneficial. I hope your portrait skills have gone to a higher level. And we've seen many, many people here take this challenge. And I've seen them along the way, how their portraits have improved. One of my students mentioned how his friends and family have remarked on his portrait painting skills and how they've seen a difference. Other people are getting portrait commissions for the first time as a result of doing this challenge and the previous challenge. And then still others are painting portraits of their family with confidence. And I would love for you to be able to do that as well. Whatever you decide, whether you just use the skills you've achieved in this challenge, or you want to take it a step further and invest in your talent even more. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of the challenge. It is Thanksgiving season here, so I want to say God bless you. I pray He would prosper you in every way, provide for every need you have. I thank God for you as a student, and I look forward to teaching you in future lessons. So again, God bless you. Thank you for taking part in this challenge, and look forward to teaching you in the future. Take care.